Cheers. Got myself a big old bottle of water today, because this episode I think is going to be pretty freaking long, because we got a lot to talk about in the world of NASCAR in the past week. Let's get into it. This is The Fuel. What's happening, ladies and germs? This is the Packer Man, and welcome to today's edition of The Fuel, where today we are going to be reviewing two races that happened this past week. The Blue Emu 500 at Martinsville, which took place on Wednesday night, and the Dixie Vodka 400 that happened at Homestead, Miami yesterday, which was fraught with all kinds of lightning delays and all that other dumb shit. But as you know, decent as those races were, it's kind of taken a back seat to something that has really taken the motorsports world by storm, regarding something that NASCAR did over this past week. And of course there was a lot of people reacted to it, some positively, some negatively, but basically we're going to be talking about it now. Yay! And that's a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and get into what I expect to be a pretty lengthy news of the week. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I'm going to be pretty, I'm going to be honest here. I tried my damnedest to avoid talking about this, because, you know, I really don't like talking about political shit on my channel. My channel is basically, you know, all about, you know, video games, flea market hunting, wrestling, and motorsports. You know, that's what I love to talk about. That's what I love to showcase on my channel. And, you know, talking about current events and, you know, political shit, it's just not my speed. And I tried so hard to avoid this topic, but it's kind of filtered down into the NASCAR world, and it kind of had a prevailing effect on one of the decisions that NASCAR made this week. Of course, I'm talking about the Black Lives Matter movement. As we all know, about 3 weeks ago, Minnesota police, for the lack of a better term, murdered a African American by the name of George Floyd by basically suffocating him, just to put it bluntly. And this has incited the mother of all riots across the U.S. and peaceful protests, and just some crazy shit going on in America right now. And this started to filter down into the NASCAR world, in particular with Bubba Wallace, who of course is the lone African American driver right now in the Cup Series, who drives for Richard Petty Motorsports' number 43 car. And he's been doing a lot better than in his previous years. He's actually been knocking down some top 15 finishes lately, and is actually 20th in the points as of this moment. But yeah, basically he had a Black Lives Matter paint scheme for Martinsville, I believe, which certainly caught the attention of a lot of people. And you know, it's just, I really don't know what to say at this point, you know, regarding this whole thing, because, you know, like I said, this is something that I don't really like to talk about, you know, and, you know, the fact of the matter is, you know, why is racism such a prevailing topic in our country nowadays? You know, it's absolutely fucking ridiculous. I mean, why should a human hate another human because of their skin color? Like, what the fuck difference does it make, man? I mean, because last time I checked, we all eat, sleep, shit, and breathe the same way. We all bleed the color red. I mean, I just don't get it. Racism, I mean, racism is probably the dumbest shit that humanity has ever created. There is literally no reason for it. I mean, hating on someone because they have a darker skin color than you, I mean, that is just dumb shit. And it's certainly nothing that I stand for, I'll tell you that much. I mean, I can't stand racism myself. You know, I mean, because I'm not going to hate on someone because of their color. You know, I judge you based on your actions as a human being. That's how it should be. But unfortunately, you know, for some stupid fucking reason, racism is still prevalent in our society. And, you know, police brutality against, you know, African Americans, you know, has been going on for a while now, and it finally reached the breaking point, and people have had enough of it, and that's what sparked this whole thing going on. Well, Bubba Wallace made some comments saying that they should that NASCAR should ban the use of should ban the Confederate flag from being flown at races. And what you know, 2 days later, NASCAR decides to ban the Confederate flag at their races. Naturally, this has caused quite the maelstrom online. You know, there are a lot of people that have decried NASCAR for it, and there have been people that have praised NASCAR for it. So it's kind of been, you know, even split down the line. And let's be completely honest here. NASCAR is not going to win either way in this situation, because, I mean, this is a situation of damned if you do and damned if you don't. But, you know, this was their statement about the Confederate flag and their decision to ban it. This is their official statement. The presence of the Confederate flag at NASCAR events runs contrary to our commitment to providing a welcoming and inclusive environment for all fans, our competitors, and our industry. Bringing people together around a love for racing and the community that it creates is what makes our fans and sports special. The display of the Confederate flag will be prohibited from all NASCAR events and properties. Certainly the intention, I think, makes sense in some aspects, but I mean, completely prohibiting, you know, having the Confederate flag, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that runs contrary to what they're trying to do. They say they want to be inclusive, but, you know, you're preventing a certain section of your fan base who like flying the Confederate flag from bringing the Confederate flag in. I mean, I don't know. I mean, but I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, because I think they're misconstruing what the Confederate flag actually stands for. But, you know, I know a lot of people have decried them, saying, "Oh my God, it's a terrible decision," and that may be the case, and you can disagree with them all you want, and that's fine. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, no matter how much we like or dislike what they do, I mean, they have a right to set rules for the races, and that includes drivers, teams, and fans in attendance. So, I mean, it's a controversial decision to say the least. I mean, it's definitely split the NASCAR fan base right down the middle. This was, just to give you an idea how seismic this decision was, this actually got a headline on the New York Times, I think. I think the New York Times made reference to it earlier in the week. That just goes to show you how big this decision was. And it's actually had some trickle-down effects as a result of this decision, because a guy by the name of Ray Ciccarelli, who is a truck driver of 18 career starts, basically announced that he was quitting NASCAR because they banned the Confederate flag. And he basically went on a long rant shaming kneeling during the anthem and banning the flag. So this was what was posted on his Facebook post. He called the decision political BS and added that he doesn't believe in kneeling during the national anthem. And he basically was like, well, it's been a fun ride and dream come true, but if this is the direction NASCAR is heading, we will not participate after the 2020 season is over. I don't believe in kneeling during anthem, nor taking people's rights to fly whatever flag they love. I could care less about the Confederate flag, but there are people that do, and it doesn't make them a racist. All you are doing is fucking one group to cater to another, and I ain't spending the money we are to participate in any political BS. So everything is for sale. Naturally, he got heavily criticized for these comments, and was actually trending on Twitter at one point, which is pretty fucking sad, all things considered. And as a result of this, he has received threats after announcing that he was quitting over NASCAR's decision to ban the Confederate flag. He basically said that my wife, my family have been attacked and abused on social media. It's just heartbreaking, and he basically adds that all of his comments were misconstrued. In no way, shape, or form was I defending the Confederate flag. Everything I was saying was the fact that I understand both sides' feelings toward the flag. My viewpoint, all I was trying to say is, how do you take the flag from one group and support the group that it offends, and then what do you do to the group that you took it from? Now they get outraged. Like I said, I mean, he does have a bit of a point here. Like I said, NASCAR's kind of in a no-win situation here. In the interview, Ciccarelli now claims he has no issues with people kneeling during the national anthem. Yeah, nice backtrack there, pal. I believe in standing for the national anthem, and I believe that if you want to kneel during the anthem, you should kneel. As far as going through with quitting NASCAR, he says the decision is to be determined. Yeah, nice backtracking there, dude. I mean, why people are taking this guy seriously when he's basically a nobody, it's beyond me. But that wasn't the only bit of controversy that came from the Confederate flag being banned. A helmet designer came under fire from some NASCAR drivers for some comments that he made this week about NASCAR banning the Confederate flag. As it turned out, multiple NASCAR drivers fire a helmet designer over social media posts. Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Bubba Wallace, and Ryan Blaney have all cut ties with Beam Designs because of social media posts from the longtime helmet designer. Some of the postings from the company's Twitter and Facebook account criticized NASCAR's decision to ban the display of the Confederate flag at races and were critical of the sport's actions against social injustice. What really set this off, though, was how two-faced this motherfucker is, because Bubba Wallace was actually the first one who called this guy out. Hold on, let me see if I can get it here. Because he actually deleted some of these tweets, but Bubba Wallace screen capped some of these. So, one of the tweets that he basically put at Bubba Wallace was NASCAR posted a picture of Bubba Wallace's Black Lives Matter paint scheme for the Martinsville race. And Beam Designs' response was 3 thumbs down and garbage. And someone replied, maybe it's time to find someone else to paint your helmets. I would recommend R-Star Design. And Beam Designs was like, always getting my leftovers. Which I thought was pretty fucking trash. And then he also, hold on, let me see if I can find it here. What else do I find here? And yeah, he was also like, actually, yeah, here we go, Jeff Gluck. Oh, sorry, I was looking for what it was. So yeah, he criticized Bubba Wallace's paint scheme. And then he also says, sad day in racing watching NASCAR put their drivers and teams in their sport in the political spotlight of racism. Just a bunch of trash. And then he tries to turn it around and say that he was for, you know, all the Black Lives Matter shit. But basically, Bubba Wallace is like, nah, homie. As a person I've done business with in the past and always respected the work you've done for ones in the industry, you made it clear where you stand in today's matter. All respect lost for you, dog. Yep. Good job, dude. Stupid fuck. And then there was a, he also made another Twitter post that was basically like, you know, thanks for all the DMs and all the support, you know, trying to prevent you, because NASCAR was trying to, you know, sabotage me and all this shit. And it's just like, what? NASCAR wasn't trying to sabotage you, you dumb fuck. You made some pretty shitty comments, I have to say, and there were some high-profile drivers that wanted nothing more to do with you. And I would not be the least bit surprised if his business goes under, you know, after all this negative PR. Good job, dude. Way to help your business out. Have fun flipping burgers at the local McDonald's, if you can even get hired doing that. Stupid fuck. And believe it or not, though, he is not the dumbass of the week. Yes, that segment is coming back, I think for the first time this year. And we'll get to that when we get to it, though. And that's pretty much it for news of the week. Bunch of dumb shit going on right now. I'm glad to be done talking about it anyways, because I just want to get back to what I want to talk about, and that is race reviews. So let's go ahead and get into it and review the Blue Emu 500 at Martinsville. Alright, Wednesday night racing at Martinsville, the Blue Emu 500. So, stages broke down like this. Stages 1 and 2 were 130 laps each, with stage 3 being 240 laps. Ryan Blaney drew the pole for this race. And one thing I gotta say about this race, the beginning of this race was crazy shit. Because you had comers and goers all over the place. You had guys that were up at the front, like leading the race, you know, at the beginning of the stage. And then like 40 laps later, they were a lap down. I mean, stage 1 was crazy sauce. So, stage 1, 130 laps. Ryan Blaney drew the pole for the race. Eric Almirola gets a great start and takes the lead on lap number 1. Our first caution on lap 5, when Austin Dillon has a flat right rear tire and shed some debris on the track, including the crush panels, which would come into play later on in the race, because he was now going to be getting fumes and a lot of heat. And he actually ended up with a blister on his backside because some of that, because he was putting ice packs in his fire suit to try to keep himself cool. Well, one of those ice packs burst open and water went down his back, and when you consider how hot it can get inside those cars, that water basically becomes boiling water, and you literally start to cook like a lobster. So, yeah. That's happened to many a driver in the past. And from what I've heard, it is no es bueno. And it looked like some kind of battery fell out of Joey Case's 51 car. Couldn't tell if it was like a, couldn't tell what kind of battery it was. It had some kind of hookup to it. Don't know if it was like a radio battery or what the hell it was. But that was weird. Almirola leads on the restart. Logano and Blaney start fighting hard for the second position. Blaney starts getting freight trained all the way back to 7th, which would actually get worse from there. And then we had our first pure lead change when Joey Logano got by Almirola on lap number 20. And Almirola starts getting shuffled back big time. Kurt Busch passes Kyle Busch for 3rd. Elliott gets by Kyle Busch for 4th. And Jimmie Johnson starts coming towards the front in a hurry while Denny Hamlin is going backwards. And he did not have a very good night at Martinsville at one of his favorite tracks. Kurt Busch and Elliott get by Truex for 2nd and 3rd. Elliott moves up to 2nd. Bowyer and Johnson gets by Kurt for 5th. And Keselowski and Hamlin go a lap down early in the race. Yikes. And this is before the competition caution on lap 60, by the way. Blaney about to go a lap down after starting on the pole. And I made the comment that, man, there was some evil handling race cars out there. Another guy, Almirola, the first leader of the race, goes a lap down, as well as Kyle Busch. I was like, Jesus. A lot of these guys must have really missed the setup for this race. And it looked early on like Logano had the car to beat. We had our second caution, lap 61, which of course was the competition caution. Only 18 cars on the lead lap after 60 laps of this race. Like, holy crap. Logano wins the race off pit road, so he leads on the restart. Kurt Busch gets by Harvick for 5th, and Byron gets by Byron for 4th, I should say. Truex gets by Byron for the 5th position. Early on, lots of tires are showing cords. That would improve as time went on, though. And Harvick reports a battery issue, which would actually be a problem for all of the Stewart-Haas cars by the end of the race. Hamlin reporting some overheating issues. Truex gets by Elliott for the 4th position, and Byron gets by the 9 for 5th. Harvick gets by Byron for the 5th position. Then we have our third caution on lap 113 when Timmy Hill stalls in the middle of pit road. So everyone comes in for service. Bubba Wallace takes just 2 tires and wins the race off pit road. Corey LaJoie stays out, so he leads on the restart. But Logano threads the needle and retakes the lead on the restart. Basically goes 3 wide for the most part. Harvick and LaJoie make contact down the front stretch. Truex gets by Wallace for the 5th position. Elliott and Kurt Busch make some contact as they fight for the 6th position. And Joey Logano wins stage number 1. Wallace's 2-tire strategy actually ended up paying off because he did get some stage points out of that. Everyone comes back in for service because tires are important. And Truex wins the race off pit road. But he would actually get hit with a commitment line violation. See, when you come into the pit road at Martinsville, they have the commit line, of course. And instead of having a cone there, like they usually do, they have a square orange box. According to NASCAR, he actually hit the box. You have to have all 4 tires on the left side. You can't touch the box at all. So Truex had a commitment line violation and had to go to the rear for this restart. Ouch. So Joey Logano leads the start of stage 2. Harvick gets by Michael McDowell for 5th. Yes, you heard that correctly. Some of the back marker teams that you normally wouldn't see up at the front, I mean, they typically show up at Martinsville because of the lower speeds. And you would be surprised how often some back marker teams end up with top 10 finishes at Martinsville. Johnson gets by Bowyer for 2nd. He had a dynamite car early on as well. Ryan Blaney starts recovering from his very shitty first stage. Actually got the lucky dog at one point and is now back up to 7th. So evidently they managed to fix the major handling issues that he had on his race car. Harvick gets by Bowyer for 3rd. Elliott and Blaney by Bowyer for 4th and 5th. And Johnson catches Logano for the lead among the lap cars and gets by him for a second pure lead change on lap 202. So Jimmy leads for the first time today. Some raindrops were being reported in turns 1 and 2, but nothing too serious. Blaney gets by Logano for 2nd. And I was like, wow, what a turnaround from the first stage. because he was dog meat in that first stage, went a lap down, and now he's back up to the number 2 position. And Bubba Wallace up to 6th on lap 235, so he had a pretty good car. And Bowyer goes a lap down to Johnson after being up at the front at the start of the stage. Bowyer and John Henry Nemechek were fighting hard for the free pass. Bowman gets by Harvick for the 4th position. We'll get to the halfway point, just in case weather came in the area. And Jimmy Johnson wins stage number 2 in a caution-free stage. So everyone comes in for service, and Johnson wins the race off of pit road. So we get to stage number 3, 240 laps this time. William Byron penalized for an uncontrolled tire. It was pretty obvious it was uncontrolled. So Johnson leads the start of stage 3. Ryan Blaney actually uses the outside to his advantage to take the lead on the restart. That was a power move by him. Logano gets by Johnson for 2nd. All of a sudden, Johnson's car is not as good in this stage, which was just weird. How it just flipped the switch and all of a sudden his car was not that good. Elliott gets by Bowman for the 5th position. Bowman and Kez rubbing fenders for 6th. Johnson rubs back a bit. And we have our 3rd pure lead change on lap 284 when Joey Logano takes the lead from Blaney. The Dillon brothers start trading some paint. Kez gets by Elliott for 4th, and then Ryan Blaney gets back by Logano on lap 307 for our 4th pure lead change of the day. Keselowski gets by Harvick for 3rd. So we have a Penske 1-2-3 at this moment. Johnson gets by Elliott for the 5th position. Kez by Logano for 2nd. And then we get our 4th caution on lap 326. David Starr gets spun after Eric Jones hits the curb and bounces up into him, which could be a common occurrence. Everyone comes in for service. Logano wins the race off pit road, and Blaney is penalized for a crew member being over the wall too soon. Ouch. So Logano leads on the restart. Truex, who has recovered nicely from his penalty, gets by Johnson for 4th, and Harvick gets by the 48 for 5th. And then we have a battle for the lead developing between Logano, Kez, and Elliott. Yep, this was probably the best part of the entire race. This battle for the lead that started developing. First between Logano, Kez, and Elliott. And then eventually Truex joins the battle later on. Almirola has to pit to change batteries, so he was another one of the Stewart-Haas cars that was having battery issues. Kez starts challenging Logano for the lead, but then Elliott comes up to challenge Keselowski for 2nd, and then Martin Truex Jr. joins the 3-way fight for the lead, so we have 4 cars under a blanket fighting through the lead here midway through the 3rd and final stage. Yeah, this was definitely the best part of the race, by far. Truex gets by Elliott for 3rd, then we have our 5th pure lead change on lap 366 when Keselowski gets by Logano. Truex gets by Logano for 2nd, so now we have the battle of the 2019 Martinsville winners who led over 400 laps in both races the previous year. Keselowski led 446 laps in the spring race, and then Truex one-upped them in the fall race by leading 464 laps. And now these two are going head-to-head here in this race. It doesn't really last long because Truex gets by Keselowski for 6th and final pure lead change of the day on lap 370. Bowman gets by Harvick for 5th after he made contact with David Starr. After Harvick makes contact with David Starr. We have our 5th caution on lap 397 when Quinn Houff spins on turn 3. Everyone comes in for service and Truex wins the race off pit road. So he leads on the restart, and that was basically the last anyone ever saw the lead. Blaney gets back up to 6th after his pit road penalty. Elliott gets by Bowman for 4th. Austin Dillon parks it on this caution due to exhaustion and dehydration, like I said before. And he was checked and released in the infield care center, if I can fucking talk. So that's good. Seems like all the SHR cars were having battery issues at this point. Clint Bowyer was having problems. There was a report that the 41 was starting to have issues. So, yeah, kind of weird. Elliott and Keselowski fight for 3rd, with Kez winning that battle. Blaney gets by Elliott for 4th. There's lots of beating and banging in the mid-pack, but no spins, surprisingly. All 3 Penske cars getting ready to tango for the 2nd position. Newman and Byron start fighting hard for the 10th position. Blaney gets by Keselowski for second, but is 3 seconds behind Truex with 44 laps to go. Truex with a 4-second lead with 25 laps to go, and that was pretty much all she wrote. Martin Truex Jr. wins the Blue Emu 500 for his second straight Martinsville win. And since this was the first true night race that Martinsville has put on, they put on a little strobe show for Truex after the race was over, which I thought was pretty cool. So, Truex gets his first win of the season and 27th of his career. It's really crazy to note that after the 2015 season, he had just 3 career wins, and in the last 5 years, he's added 22 more. It's absolutely insane. So, that in mind, let's take a look at the top 10 results after the Blue Emu 500 at Martinsville. Alright, Martin Truex Jr. wins the race, of course, led 132 laps on the way to victory. Ryan Blaney comes home in second, Brad Keselowski third. Joey Logano led the most laps by far, 234 laps, but ends up in fourth. Chase Elliott comes home with the top 5, Alex Bowman in sixth, Matt DiBenedetto in seventh, William Byron eighth, Kurt Busch ninth, and Jimmie Johnson rounds up the top 10. Pretty sure that's not where he wanted to finish though, after leading 70 laps and winning stage 2. I'm not going to give the point standings since we had another race later on in the week, so it's kind of pointless to give the point standings at this point. But one thing I will do is give my final rating for the Blue Emu 500. It's a pretty solid race. The last 100 laps were kind of anticlimactic with no battles for the lead. But, I mean, we did have 6 pure lead changes with 14 overall lead changes. And of course, we had that great battle in the middle of stage 3 between Keselowski, Truex, Elliott, and Logano. That was pretty fun to watch. So overall, this was a nice, solid debut for a true night race at Martinsville. My final rating for this race, I'll give it a solid 6.5 out of 10. I liked it. It was alright. So with that out of the way, let's move on to our second review of this video, the Dixie Vodka 400 at Homestead. Alright, so this is your Dixie Vodka 400 review at the Homestead Miami Speedway. This race was fraught with delays, mainly lightning delays, and it got to the point of extreme frustration, I'll tell you that much. So stages broke down like this. Stages 1 and 2, 80 laps, with the third stage being 107 laps. Because weather was pretty prominent during this race with lightning delays and even a funnel cloud sighted not too far from the track, which might have been a water spout, which was pretty crazy. The halfway point, the magic number, was 134 laps. So, here we go. Stage 1, 80 laps. A bit of a rain delay before the start. Denny Hamlin drew the pole for this race, but Logano took the lead on lap number 1. And then we have our first caution on lap 4. Lightning in the area. And of course, the frustrating thing about this is whenever there's a lightning strike within 8 miles of the track, there has to be a mandatory red flag for 30 minutes. And if there's a lightning strike at any point, then they have to reset the clock back to 30 minutes. They can only go back to racing after 30 minutes has passed after the previous strike. Which kind of sucks, but you know, it's a policy that's been in place for years. Mainly to protect the competitors and fans in attendance. So, there were multiple lightning delays, including a couple of occasions where they were getting ready to get back in the cars, and then boom, another lightning strike. So they finally got rolling again at 7:06 p.m. after multiple lightning delays caused a 128-minute red flag. So Logano leads on the restart. Hamlin leads the first lap of the restart, but Logano gets the run on the bottom and retakes the lead for our first pure lead change on lap number 11. Keselowski gets by Hamlin for second. Tyler Reddick This was by far his best showing so far in that 8 car. He started in 24th position. He was already 10th at this point. Hamlin coming back on Keselowski for the 2nd position. Elliott by Truex for 5th. Boyer and the Busch brothers were having a great battle for the 9th position. Then we have our second caution on lap 21. Ryan Newman nearly spent off of turn 4 due to a right rear tire going flat, which was a pretty common occurrence in this race. And they were scheduled to have a competition caution on lap 25, but NASCAR decided this will be the competition caution. And by the way, Reddick had moved up to 5th before the caution came out. Pretty damn impressive. Everyone comes in for service. Logano went the race off pit road. Several cars stayed out in this caution, but then came in on the next lap. So Logano leads on the restarts. Reddick up to 2nd at this point after starting 24th. Blaney, Harvick, and Hamlin going 3 wide for the 4th position. That was pretty crazy. Elliott gets by Reddick for the 2nd position. So we have a battle for the lead between Logano, Elliott, and Reddick that was really starting to heat up. Then we have our second pure lead change on lap 30 when Chase Elliott gets by Logano. Yeah. Not the last time these two would come together. There's one guy in particular in this group that I'm going to be really reaming in a little bit. Some of you might know who it is. Reddick gets by Logano for 2nd. Blaney and Hamlin start closing in as well. So we have basically 5 cars all right together getting ready to battle for the lead. And then caution number 3 on lap 32 for Lightning. Yeah, this is how I felt at that moment. Yeah. So we have to have another red flag for Lightning. And right when we were having a great battle for the lead developing. Fuck you, Mother Nature. So, but we did get if I can speak. We did eventually get back going. Everyone comes in for service under the new yellow flag. Logano runs into the back of Quinn Hoff on pit road, and that pretty much fucked his day for the remainder of the race because he was off the pace the rest of the day. Harvick had to come in a second time to repair some damage, and DiBenedetto also had to repair some damage. So Elliott leads on the restart. Blaney leads the first lap on the restart and was side by side with Elliott for a little while longer, but eventually took the lead for good. Reddick challenges Elliott for 2nd. Logano starts dropping back through the field like a rock because of the damage to the front of his car. Keselowski gets by Bowman for 5th. Eric Jones starts reporting a possible loose wheel. Hamlin gets by Reddick for 3rd position and gets by Elliott for 2nd. So Hamlin's car started to really come alive, and it looked like early on he had a good long run car. Reddick gets by Elliott for the 3rd position. Almirola up to 5th and passes Elliott for 4th. Hamlin starts challenging Blaney for the stage win on the final 10 laps. And he pulls the slide job on Blaney to take the lead with 4 laps to go in the stage for a 3rd pure lead change on lap 76. Elliott gets by Almirola for the 4th position, and Denny Hamlin wins stage number 1. Pretty solid first stage. Everyone comes in for service, and Hamlin wins the race off of pit road. So now we come to stage number 2, which was also 80 laps. Hamlin leads the start of it. Elliott leads the first lap after the restart. Blaney gets by Hamlin for 2nd and also gets by Elliott for the race lead. So we have our 4th pure lead change on lap 92. Hamlin, Elliott, and Reddick start fighting hard for the 2nd position. Byron gets up into the mix and gets by Elliott for the 4th position. So now we have Hamlin and Reddick fighting hard for 2nd. But after a while, they start to spread out a little bit and things really start to calm down. The 2nd stage was a lot more tame than the 1st stage, I'll tell you that much. At least it ran caution free. Hamlin starts closing the gap to Blaney for the lead once again. Ryan Newman kicks off green flag stops on lap 118. Blaney pits in the lead on lap 122, but Hamlin cycles out with the lead due to him coming in 1 lap earlier than Blaney because much like at Darlington and Atlanta, the fall off in the tires was dramatic. Like, late in the run versus new tires was like 2.5 seconds. So that was basically the difference for this one, because Hamlin cycled out with the lead after coming in 1 lap earlier than Blaney. Elliott gets by Byron for the 4th position. Reddick challenges Blaney for the 2nd position, battles with him for a bit, finally gets by him, gets nerfed by the 12 though as he came up in front of him, but hangs on to the car surprisingly. Elliott gets by Blaney for the 3rd position, and Denny Hamlin wins stage number 2. This stage sucked. Not a whole lot happened. Everyone comes in for service, and Hamlin wins the race off pit road, so he will lead the start of stage number 3. Got some shuffling going on in the back half of the top 10. Then we get our 4th caution on lap 170 when Joey Logano gets loose in turn 2. Basically, Ryan Newman tried to go to his inside in turn 1, and Logano basically tried to block him, and the two basically came together, which damaged both cars, because Newman's front end had a lot of damage after that. Everyone comes back to pit road, because obviously, and Hamlin wins the race off pit road once again, so he leads on the restart. Blaney moves up to 2nd with Byron up to 4th. Reddick gets by Byron for 4th and starts challenging Elliott for the 3rd position. Reddick did himself proud today, although he did have a little snafu at the end of the race, where he came to the white flag and basically started slowing down dramatically, thinking that the race was over, and his spotter was basically going, keep going, the race is not over yet. At least that didn't cost him any positions, because he ended up finishing in 4th, which is his best career finish so far. Just to give you an idea, 5th position was like 9 seconds back. So he was in no danger of losing the 4th position. His first career top 5 in the Cup Series. I'll tell you what, man, Tyler Reddick, he is doing that 8 car proud. I mean, because last year with Daniel Hemrick, that 8 car was fucking garbage. And Reddick is just putting it up in the top 10 on a semi-consistent basis, putting together some great runs. I mean, I would not be the least bit surprised if he ends up in victory lane before the end of this season. I honestly think it could happen. More shuffling at the back half of the top 10. At this point, the top 4 are within a second of each other, so it's like, oh, here we go. We got a race going on. Blaney gets by Hamlin for the lead. So we have our 5th pure lead change on lap 193. But then Denny Hamlin sneaks back and right back by him for our 6th pure lead change on lap 194. Elliott starts coming into the fray as well, moving up to 2nd. There was a great battle for the 9th position between Christopher Bell, Eric Jones, and Alex Bowman. Harvick has to make an emergency stop for a flat right rear tire, as does Chris Buescher. So, right rear tires, of course, when you have some of these cars as loose as they are, tends to wear out that right rear tire a lot quicker. So that might have been the issue, especially considering that they were pretty late into this run. Bowman kicks off green flag stops among the leaders with 58 laps to go, trying to really short pit, although that would end up coming back to bite him at the end of the day when there was no caution at the end. So Hamlin pits from the lead with 50 laps to go, but Elliott cycles back with the lead, coming out ahead of Hamlin due to doing what Hamlin did to Blaney in the 2nd stage, pitting 1 lap earlier. Hamlin starts closing the gap little by little with 35 laps to go and starts challenging him for the lead. And then this moment happened. The moment that makes me bring back this segment of the show. It is time for the dumbass of the week. So, if you will recall from my Bristol Night Race review last year, I absolutely reamed Ryan Newman for interfering and affecting the outcome of that race. Guess what happened in this race? Joey Logano affects the outcome of this fucking race. Because with his piece of shit car. He was about to go 2 laps down to chase Elliott, and what does he do? Instead of just laying over, like he should at the end of a race, especially when, the guy who's coming up to lap you is, trying to win the race, he basically gets in the fucking way and makes life completely difficult for Chase Elliott. Of course, as you recall, the two of them had a little get-together, so to speak, at Bristol a couple weeks ago. Evidently, Logano is still salty about that because he basically held Chase Elliott up, which allows Hamlin to take the lead from Elliott because Elliott tried to get underneath of Logano, but basically Logano raced him hard, which allowed Hamlin to catch Chase Elliott easily and go by him on the outside. And when Elliott tried to fight back on the inside, guess where Logano went? To the fucking bottom of the racetrack where Chase Elliott was. Pretty fucking obvious what Logano was doing there. So Hamlin takes the lead for a 7th and final pure lead change of the day on lap 238. Okay. I am going to make this abundantly clear. Okay? Because I know there are some Logano fans who stumble across this video will think I'm hitting on Logano because I don't fucking like Logano, which I don't. And some might say that this is an excuse for me to hate on him. But I'm going to make this perfectly clear. Okay? It does not fucking matter what the reason is or who it is that does this shit. There is no justification for altering and affecting the outcome of a race. Okay, I absolutely reamed Ryan Newman for it last year. And, despite the fact that, I'm glad that he is still with us after that Daytona 500 crash that he had that nearly took his life, I still stand by what I said last year, because lap cars affecting the outcome of a race, and I've said this before, and I will stand by this till the end of time, lap cars affecting the outcome of a race is the biggest fucking pet peeve I have in motorsports. Especially when you do it intentionally like Logano did. There is no fucking question that he did it intentionally. He saw an opportunity to screw Chase Elliott out of the win, and he succeeded. But you know what I call people who do that? A petty bitch. But then again, why should I be surprised that Joey Logano would do such a thing? He's been a petty asshole from the moment he stepped foot in a fucking race car. So I really shouldn't be fucking surprised that, he would do something like this. And I know some Logano fans like, man, why do you always hate on Logano for the things he does on the track and this, that, and the other, and all this other bullshit? And I will be the first to admit, I do not like Joey Logano. He's cocky, he's arrogant, he's a whiny, prissy bitch a lot of times, which has been well documented. But believe it or not, that's not the main reason why I hate the guy. The real reasons why I hate the guy is because, one, he's a hypocrite, and number two, he's extremely disingenuous. Now you may ask yourself, what do you mean by that? If you'll recall, and I don't remember if I covered this in the race review last year, But the Spring Richmond race last year, where Truex got his first short track win, there is a segment at the end of that race where Mike Joy speaks up, and he basically says at the end of that race, I'm pretty sure it's on NASCAR's YouTube channel, where he says that Joey Logano said in an interview earlier this week that he races people the way they race him. Let me say that again. He said that Joey Logano said in an interview earlier that week that he races people how they race him. Bullshit! Bull fucking shit. Y'all remember the fall Martinsville race in 2018? The year that Logano won the championship? Because I remember that Martin Truex Jr. Managed to pass Logano clean as a fucking whistle. As clean as you could possibly get. And that earns, at least for me, that earns a lot of respect because, I mean, Truex had the much faster car than Logano, and he could have put the bumper to him at any point. But Truex didn't want to win that way, which I don't blame him. I mean, you know, in Wreckfest, I don't want to win that way, you know, because I want to try to pass a guy clean for the race win, because that takes skill to pull off. Because any motherfucker can put the bumper to someone and knock them out of the way for a race win. There's no skill involved in that. It's just having a lead foot on the gas pedal and not bothering to touch the brake. That takes no skill. Any boneheaded motherfucker can do that. It takes real skill to pass someone without resorting to that move. And what happened at the end of that race? Truex managed to pull it off. He managed to pass Logano clean for the lead at the white flag. Now, according to what Logano said before the Richmond race in 2019, he says that I race people how they race me. Well, that's complete and total bullshit because Truex passed him clean coming to the white flag at Martinsville. So what does he do coming to the checkered flag? Going into turn 3, he basically corner bombs Truex and takes the win away from him. And what made me want to absolutely fucking puke all over my TV was the fact that not only, because let's just keep this in mind, that was an absolutely dirty fucking move. I don't give a shit if it was for the win or not. I don't care if it, you know, ended up helping him win the championship. That was dirty. He did Truex dirty. And before you Logano fans start, you know, running your fucking mouth, I would have been saying that if the roles were reversed. If Logano would have passed Truex clean, and Truex would have put the bumper to him, I would have laid it into Truex as well. I do not give a fuck who does it and what the reason is, okay? If you pass someone clean and then they hit you, that's bullshit. Now, if Truex would have put the bumper to Logano, okay, fair game. It would have been a similar situation to what we saw in Chicagoland in 2018 when Kyle Larson tried to do the slide job, as Junior put it, on Kyle Busch coming off of turn 2. Couldn't quite clear him, but kind of nudged him into the wall. And then what Kyle Busch did, he basically laid the bumper to him in turn 3, which in that case was justified because Kyle Larson did it to him in turn 2. But what Logano did at Martinsville was not justified because Truex passed him clean as a whistle, and they decided, you know what, I'm just going to ARCA brake into him. And what made me sick was the fact that not only was that move condoned, it was fucking celebrated. Like, Yeah, Logano did a great job there. Are you fucking kidding me? What circle of hell have we descended to where a move like that gets not only condoned but celebrated? What type of stupid fucking bullshit is that? And then Logano has the balls, the unmitigated gall, to get mad at Bristol, where he passes Chase Elliott clean, and then, you know, Elliott starts rubbing him up a little bit. He's like, "What the fuck, man? I passed that motherfucker clean." And while I don't, you know, condone what Elliott did, at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's not fun with the shoes on the other foot now, is it, you dumb motherfucker? So you are in no fucking position to get mad over anything. And then you go and pull this stupid fucking bullshit where you basically alter the outcome of the race, which I will never fucking condone. And it doesn't matter who the fuck it is. It could be Truex, it could be Elliott, could have been Blaney, could have been Jimmy Johnson, could have been Kurt Busch, could have been Kyle Busch, could have been Eric Almirola that did the same thing that Logano did. It does not matter. I don't give a fuck who does it or why they do it. It's bullshit. It's a petty bullshit move. It is one of my biggest pet peeves, and I will never fucking condone it. And if you don't like that, you can take that and stick it straight up your fucking ass. You know, some people might not like that way of thinking, but you know what? At least I have my values and I stick to my fucking guns. And again, it does not fucking matter who is the offending party. Even if it was Dale Jr., I would be saying, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Because I want to see, you know, these two guys battle to the win, you know, between themselves, without any outside interference. I mean, you're 2 fucking laps down, dude. Get the fuck out of the way! You know, it really pissed me off that there were actually some Logano fans that were justifying it, because of course they're just as much a bunch of fucking prissy ass bitches like Logano is. You know, those people seem to love getting down on their hands and knees and sucking his fucking balls. It's fucking ridiculous. You know, and honestly, if you condone this shit, then why the fuck are you even a fan? You disgust me as a fucking fan. But then again, this fan base fucking sucks ass anyway. So it really shouldn't surprise me at all. And that's all I gotta fucking say about that. Anyways, let's get back to the fucking review. Alright, so getting that off my chest, let's get back to finishing this review. Blaney starts closing on the leaders with 20 laps to go. Elliott, to his credit, continues to challenge Hamlin for the lead. Blaney starts catching the top 2, as does Reddick. He was starting to close in, so at one point the top 4 was like a second and a half apart from each other. Kyle Busch goes by Jones for 6th. Jones would actually have to come in for a flat right rear tire, I believe, which really sucks for him. Reddick challenges Blaney for 3rd, takes it for a moment, but then Blaney comes back on the outside and retakes it. Elliott had a chance at Hamlin with 5 laps to go, but would end up scraping the wall in turns 3 and 4. At that point, I was like, GG Hamlin. So that was pretty much it. Denny Hamlin wins the Dixie Vodka 400 at Homestead for his 3rd win of the year and his 40th career win, which puts him into a tie with Mark Martin, I believe, for 19th on the all-time list with 40 career wins. Just sucks that it had anticlimactic finish to this race. because Hamlin and Elliott have had their little run-ins at Martinsville as well. And I was really looking forward to what could have been a pretty damn good finish between Elliott and Hamlin, and, well, Elliott kind of screwed the pooch on that one. So Hamlin gets his 3rd win of the year. I mean, you might not like Hamlin, but I mean, you gotta give him credit where credit is due. I mean, he drew the pole, won stage 1, won stage 2, led 137 of the race's 267 laps, and got all the points that he could have earned. You know, 60 championship points with 7 playoff points. I mean, you can't get much better than that. So, I mean, you might not like Hamlin, but you gotta give him credit where credit is due. He is a good driver. So, there's that. There were 17 overall lead changes in this race, a little bit more than Martinsville, with 7 pure lead changes. So, pretty decent number in this race. Pretty competitive for the most part. Just sucks that we had that anticlimactic finish at the end. Thought we were getting ready to see, you know, a great battle between Elliott and Hamlin, but, you know, it's just the way it goes. So, with that in mind, here are the top 10 results for the Dixie Vodka 400. Denny Hamlin, of course, with the win. Like I said, led 137 laps. Chase Elliott comes home in 2nd. Elliott has been running really good this year. I mean, honestly, you know, if not for some mistakes on his own accord and some bad luck, he'd probably have 4 or 5 wins right now. I mean, that 9 team is pretty much on it right now. Of course, Ryan Blaney, another top 5 finish. You know, he's going to get his 4th career win at some point. He led 70 laps in this race. Finally had a race where he didn't really have any problems. Tyler Reddick with his best career finish. Of course, he had that last lap Shamaza where he slowed down at the end of the race. That was pretty funny. Eric Almirola finally gets a top 5 run that he needed. Kyle Busch in 6th, Austin Dillon in 7th. Of course, that's coming after he had that pull out at the end of Martinsville due to exhaustion. Christopher Bell, top 10 run for him. William Byron and Brad Keselowski rounds out the top 10. So, with both of those race reviews out of the way, here are the point standings. 12 races in. We are a third of the way through the season. Harvick continues to lead the way, but he's had some stumbles the last couple weeks, which has seen his point lead shrunk to just 8 over Chase Elliott. Joey Logano is 3rd, Brad Keselowski 4th, Ryan Blaney, the highest non-winner in the point standings so far, in 5th. Then we have Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, who has the most wins with 3, but is 7th in the points. So he's been a little bit inconsistent this year. Excuse me. Alex Bowman 8th. Then you have the Busch brothers, Kyle and Kurt, in 9th and 10th. Jimmy Johnson has recovered a bit from his disqualification, which cost him a shit ton of points. He's 11th. Clint Bowyer's 12th. Eric Almirola jumps up to 13th. Matt DiBenedetto in the Wood Brothers car is 14th. And you have William Byron and Austin Dillon rounding out the playoff field as of this moment. But Tyler Reddick is knocking on the door in the 17th position. And you have Eric Jones, Chris Buescher, and Bubba Wallace in the top 20. And as for my final rating for the Dixie Vodka 400, much like the Martinsville race, pretty solid, pretty competitive. Had a bit of an anticlimactic finish, but you know, overall I still pretty much enjoyed it, despite all the fucking lightning delays that went on. So my final rating for the Dixie Vodka 400 at Homestead, much like the Martinsville race, I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. So 2 pretty decent races, to say the least. And then, of course, there's the next race, which is at Talladega. Oh, shit. We're going to see the lead change counter go tilt this coming Sunday. But that's going to do it for a very heated episode of The Fuel. Lots of crazy topics to talk about, including some that I tried to stay away from, but, you know, kind of got, you know, spilled over into the NASCAR world a little bit. But it is what it is. Done talking about it. Let's move on to next week and get ready for Talladega. So, Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, this is the Packerman signing out.
You better like and subscribe or face the consequences. You have been warned.